Okay, so in this video I'll go through the concept of double equals functionality within Java. So I'll just quickly go through what it's all about, when to use them, and when not to use them, basically. So if I do a quick integer I1, let's say, and then let's say that's equal to 42. And then if I create a new integer I2 with the same value. One thing to take into account is that I can do a compare. What I can do is use an equal sign to say I1 is I1 equal to I2. So let's this out. Oh. So when I run this, it returns back true. There are two things that you need to consider. One is the actual value that's associated when you compare, and then the other one is the memory location. So when I create a new instance of an object, it may or may not reside in its same memory when you're comparing it to another integer. So if I have, for instance, integer I3 equals new integer 42. So if I do this comparison, even though the values are the same, when I run this, it returns back false. And the reason being is that when I create this new integer, the memory location of this value may not be, well, it isn't the same as this I3. Another thing to consider, so there's two things there. One is looking at the value, second look at the memory. And what I can do as well is that if I do a integer I4 is equal to I3, so what I'm doing is just transferring this information over to this new variable. Because you're doing a reference, if I do a comparison there, it will come back true. So if I create new integers or new object instances, it will place it in a separate location. Subsequently, it will become false. If you do a reference, it becomes true. Now the other thing to consider is, let's go back to this one. So that's the one that we've done here. So tick. When we ran this, I1 equals I2, because they're in the same memory and they're the same value, that equals true. But this only applies to anything higher, no higher than 128. So if I do 127, for instance, it all looks good. If I do 128, it returns back false. So that's another thing to consider as well. You do get the same concept with string values. Once you go over a certain value, it then you then lose that comparativeness based on the same value. But that's a simple concept onto when to use the double equal sign, and it is really to see whether or not there is another functionality that you can use as equals, which I'll make equals method, which I'll make another video in a bit. But it's ideally the best practice is to use this equals when you're doing comparisons, and double equals if you're looking at where the memory allocation or location of two instances. Okay, that's it.